In a country where roughly 50% of the GDP is dependent on tourism, the management of natural resources is a vital part of maintaining economic stability. In Belize, there are several entities responsible for the protection and upkeep of all protected areas. The Association of Protected Areas Management Organization, APAMO, is responsible for managing 28 of those areas. However, some changes recently proposed by the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Climate Change have raised concerns with the organization. Amanda Acosta, chair of APAMO, details those concerns.
APAMO has sent a letter to the ministry that is substantively responsible for these acts, which is the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Climate Change. We sent it June 22nd. We have not gotten an acknowledgement nor a response to that email. But in that letter, we broke down our concerns specific to the NPAS Act and to the PAC Act. There are individual concerns per each piece of legislation. I would say there's more regarding the NPAS bill. But overall, our major concern is the process. It has not been an active participatory process. We feel that the 20, 30 years plus worth of experience that the APAMO membership provides has not been tapped into to make this legislation as robust as it can be, or as perhaps as effective as it can be.
Concerns raised by the organization include gray areas of responsibilities for co-managers and their partners, as well as difficulties accessing funding for the upkeep of the resources. The organization claims that it has been nearly 2 years since a grant was provided by PACT. Acosta further explains that the shift towards the micromanagement of the NGO's daily operations does not bode well for the well-being of the protected areas.
So the co-management agreement that several of us have signed, or the framework under which we have worked, has given us day-to-day authority for the protected areas. So in other words, we determine the opening hours, we determine activities, of course, based on the designation of the protected area. Each protected area is designated either a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, and that really sets up the framework of what can and cannot happen there in terms of activities. So we feel that it's superfluous, it's not necessary to have to break down into the details of informing them. There is a need for governance, and we understand that it's national parks, it's for the people of Belize, and so there needs to be governance structures and accountability, but it does not have to come down to micromanagement, for a lack of another way of putting it.
During the recent wildfires that destroyed several thousands of acres of land across the country, multiple organizations banded together to extinguish the flames. Maria Garcia, chairlady of the Samna Society, maintains that the preservation of several protected areas were due, in large part, to the groundwork put in by the co-managers of these areas.
They have been on the ground for years. They have the experience, the rangers working on the ground. They don't have holidays, and they don't do it for the money. Look at the fire that just happened. Who was there? The caretakers of all these protected areas. Because the government didn't have enough people to help. You call forestry department, they say we don't have, the resources. We have them in the south. We have them, in the mountain pine ridge. So who took care of all these protected areas? The people in charge of the protected areas. So we are one. And we want this legislation to be humbled to our level.
Ultimately, it is because of the groundwork and collective efforts carried out daily by co-managers that the organization seek to be acknowledged, respected, and included in decision-making processes by the government, as they work towards the shared goal of managing Belize's prized natural resources.
So we're asking for open dialogue, we're asking for a response to our letter, again, acknowledgement of receipt with a time frame of when we are planning, and also to have holistic involvement of all that the legislation will affect.
Britney Gordon for News 5.